when I went to school. This is top where the brothers used to be. And come down towards the school itself. I remember chapel used to be around here somewhere. A few new buildings. Yep, this is all new from when I was here. I used to walk up this driveway every morning. It used to be ice cold, and down the bottom of the hill here were the pigsties. Used to be a paddock over here. Used to be a bull in it. Where all these cars are parked now. Really changed. Well, this is all at the back of the school now. None of this. We never used to come down here. Only maybe the boarders would have come through the day, but all this is new. Probably not new in terms of the years it's been here, but since I was here, none of these buildings were here. This old one would have been here. Yeah, it looks like housing down the bottom there, but that's probably either the original land owned by the school that's been sold off, or just original. I don't remember housing around the back of here. Yep, this is where the brothers used to live. From memory, I'm not absolutely sure because we never really came down here. It's changed dramatically. See, one of the things you notice, it identifies as a Catholic college. Unlike our primary schools, unfortunately. Our statues.
in the line trying to find out whether you passed or not.
Getting cramp on my neck. I'm actually taking video at the moment. It saves using the camera. I am, really. Yeah, that's it. So.
What's happening, guys? Stop washing out, mate.
I remember Dano when I and but the only guy I ever saw get a whack. The only one that two guys. Last day. I remember also, what was it, Mr. Trudgeon, he used to drive a Morris Minor. Jacked his car up. Yeah, put on bricks and he's up in it, and we were all watching inside, the wheels are spinning. God, it was so funny. Brother Dave. But again, nothing just fucking worth it. Right, that's all they had was Jack, I don't have the bricks right there. Yeah, he picked it up.
He was more. Yeah. Was he? Yeah, he John Ross, God. These are names of the past. Well, he was in
Buggies this morning. Breaking together, and we had to shoot through early to pick up the carcass. They're not coming up today.
Oh, no.
You look like a child.
You look like the I brought it with me.
Have you noticed?
Just make sure that.
Look at the name.
And so was Mr. Siddle.
On mine, Jay Siddle.
Jay Siddle.
Her brother.
Yeah.
It's the right photo.
It's the right photo.
It's the right photo. Yeah, Peter used to always do the ducks class, year after year, until this one turned up.
You met up with him last week?
Yeah, last week there was Roo, Bugs, Bear, and there was
everyone, and I had a chance to introduce myself to some of you as you came in. I'm Brother Steve. I'm the present principal at Oakhill College. I've been here 1 year, and I was here only for 1 year once before, and that was 1980, when I trained to be a brother. I'm Irish, I grew up as a child in New Zealand, and I've only lived that 1 year, 1980, in New South Wales. But it is tremendous to be back, and more tremendous to welcome yourself back, family, and your extended family and partners and wives. It's just wonderful to have that year of 1968 and friends with us today. This is Heather Muirhead, who's been in the school for a long time, and helps coordinate with the alumni gatherings for each of the decades that we have every year. So the plan today now is to have a campus tour. It will take around 45 minutes, and then come back here and then have another cup of tea and coffee and some refreshments. And then at your leisure, then when you suit, you can then move to your next arrangement. But before we move out, I'll have a little bit of a background to the school, because it's quite different to 50 years ago. You're the first people to use this facility here. It's called the Learning Commons, and it was finished about 2 weeks ago. And it is a study centre for the Year 12s. And so they come here in the spring period and winter and lunch, and like the university commons to study. And so I think they are very fortunate to have such a wonderful outlook and to focus then on achieving their goals. We have over 1,700 students in the school now, and it is projected we're building on a master plan at the moment, and there'll be 1,900 in the next 3 or 4 years. We have the boys 7 to 10, and that's 1,100 and 1,000 11 London, and then co-ed in year 11 and 12, which happened in 1975 after your time, gentlemen. And the more is about, we have about 360 in year 11 and 360 students in year 12. So we're the largest Catholic secondary school in New South Wales. We're the largest HSC cohort of any school in New South Wales. And we have around about 55 different subjects that the students now sit in their HSC curriculum. And so therefore, it's a tremendous place to have those choices. Any student can have any combination of subjects that they wish. Our strong flag subject is probably math. The tremendous foundation in the teaching of math from 7 to 10, and then with the boys and girls in that competitive environment, so across the various math, and that rolls on into physics and engineering study. So we have a very strong drama department, and recognised in Sydney, so every year we get a number of the students going into NIDA, and then on to work professionally in dance and drama and performing arts. And a full suite of extra and activities. But, it is on your shoulders that hopefully we are continuing to sustain what you have created as the Oakhill spirit. I hope as you wander around and words that you hear about Oakhill College in the community for those who are local, for those who are visiting back in Sydney. Today's tour and your sharings, with that company and what Oakhill College still is. So that's why it's always tremendous to have with us, so that we need to be refreshed in that spirit and have your energy and to give us purpose to continue. In that Christian education, that holistic education, the pursuit of just trying to do the best that possible, wherever we fit. And the college, I think, is known in the community as being a place where it doesn't matter, you'll find the space, and you'll find where you can fit, and you'll find enough people like you, so that it just feels community. So with that, I'm not quite sure what people wish to see in the tour, because there's the campus has changed quite a bit, and there's probably a lot of extra things, but it's along the way, either myself or Heather, if we've got a question of where's this or where's that, and then we can make sure we include that. We're going to go across the campus to the library and to show you where the master plan and what the new master plan will look like. So toward the end of next year, we will be building a new building. It will be about $25 million. It's a 4,000 square foot space, an innovation hub that will combine academic science and STEM subjects. So about 40 different classrooms and teaching spaces, and show you where that will go. And then after that, we will be landscaping the whole site, because to build this facility here, we had to address disability, and the men here will know that you're walking up and down every day on a hill. And so we have to, with the disability legislation, get everyone from Old Northern Road on no more than a 4-degree gradient to this community here, so it landscapes the whole site. So in 3 or 4 years' time, the campus will have the training college, so for the partners and families, the men 168 weren't really in this type of school at all. This was the old training college, the pre-novices and novices. Around about 1968, this was this site here was the largest of any of its years. It was built in 1936. By 1968, we were close to just under 200 scholars in training here out of this building, and then it dropped away really quickly, 750 to 78. By 78 it closed, and as you heard, I was here. I wasn't in this building, I was in the health and campus, because we were on tour together. I'm the youngest Philip Bell brother in the Australasian province, which is New Zealand, Australia, and New Zealand. That is sad but changing times. The school will go on, and wonderful Oakhill and my family is still very, very strong. The school, the farm was all sold off in 2000, up to Merrimount, the Mercy Sisters of Parramatta. I've got a place on the top of the hill there, and the Yates, I think, seed farm out that side. That was all sold off in 2000, and some of the money went to refurbish the training college. That will be our last first floor. So it's a better standard now than it was in 68 or beautifully. The top floor is 3 big spaces. That's the exam centre, so all the exams are done there and are permanently set up, and you don't have to impact the rest of the school. The second floor is the trustees' archives and the chapel and the boardroom. And this ground floor is what we call PISSY, Society and Culture subjects, so geography, economics, business studies, all taught in the ground floor. And on Saturday we teach Mandarin in Hindi language. The main languages now, gentlemen, in Castleville and Cherrybrook is Mandarin. The second most common in Cairns is Cantonese. The third most common language in Cherrybrook is Hindi. And the third in Castleville is English. And the population is changing dramatically and quite suddenly for those that isn't impacted. Next year, for the first time, we will have nearly 40% non-Caucasian Aussies, and that way the impact on Oakhill is quite sudden because there's still very much a Caucasian 9 to 12, 10 or a dozen Asian students in the school. And it doesn't reflect the neighbourhood, but then because of the Catholic, the way that it's taught. Any questions? Yep.
When did Heather start at Oakhill?
Thinking a lot.
In that, I think most of us, when you were talking, brother, we were thinking, well, Brother Jerome was responsible for the buildings and most of the buildings at Oakhill now, among many other things. And this is certainly a lovely facility, but where's the smoking room?
And that's where
Brother, is the cemetery still here?
yes, it is. Yes, that's where the brother and the student drowned in the 50s.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
I'd forgotten about it, but when he said it, it came back to me, you know.
Oh, right.
They're all from young over there.
At least 2 years.
Speaking religious order.
Oh, is that right? Between the 2 years?
So
That's a perfect girl in
didn't matter that she came from young and
Just later on. Family cult.
sorry. The borders is now,
Straight over there, Brian.
Merrimount will close next year, and they're seeking a buyer.
I don't think they'll have any problems getting it.
No, Josephites, you may know, they sold, 18 months ago, over at Windsor Road. It's all in...
And we even noticed the 44s.
everyone I speak to who's grown up in the hills, not buying, like they're just warning people about it, and you can see it's still, because I've built the road and the pathway, the subdivision, you see cracks, you see it moving still.
Can I warn you something? When you talk of the 44, the most famous person in the Royal Connection was 44.
Right behind you.
The test car. We found a big axle off the front of a truck, and we got a bonnet off an FJ Holloman. We tied it to the axle, got him a crash up and sent him down the hill.
We had a rendezvous with all the birds.
He was called the test pilot, of course.
Because this was when you were all boarding.
The single story was the brother's house, and that will be then pulled down, and the Oakhill driveway will come all the way straight up into the centre of the building.
Wow.
And then to the right of what we call the Adrian, another brown brick building, we'll put another two-story building there, which will be the canteen, and residents, staff, commons room. So this will be all opened up, and this will be all landscaped to get that 4 degrees, so kids can move and those with disability can move. So the whole teaching space will be around this, the top of the hill here.
I remember that old building. That's where that was yeah. But
None of this was here, no.
the handle was there.
And tennis courts virtually straight
It's
ahead.
called the terrace.
Yep.
Remember?
Yep.
Solomon. Who was in Solomon? I was Benildus. House names. Mushin, Larsell, wasn't it? Yeah, Mushin, Larsell, Benildus, and Solomon. Solomon was blue. Benildus was yellow. Mushin was green. Oh, okay. We know Brother Damien's here. Oh, yeah, I came to his funeral.
Yeah. A lot of them died young.
The old infirmary.
Yeah.
Right, and if you go to the end of this building,
Decent library, isn't it? Well, those tennis courts weren't here then. It's okay.
Where was sitting at, Sarah? You standing on it? Oh, we're gonna just see something.
I go with the largest getting down there and washing.
Is that right? It's pretty passive.
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't Gary Chicken. I just remember that, but it could well be Sam.
Probably St. Gabriel's still active as
St. Gabriel's? Yes, it is. Yes. I think Edmund Rice.
For the last 50 years? Oh, oh this one.
Of course, all the same.
I left school and I took up apprenticeship as a chef. After that, I did another apprenticeship in hairdressing.
on the stage or doing it?
This is the Harvey, I've got brother Damien Harvey. This Taz.
Bailey.
That's a big strong one.
No, the old it's now being topped, and it's, we catch all the water from the roof to water the ocean.
One of the maintenance guys. I think that the boys have actually taken it outside.
Wow.
So
But it doesn't work in here. That's garden fruit.
Yeah, they've got pom-poms. The guy on the left, we would have been in juniors, of course, when they went.
For us in the electrical
But
challenge.
I remember his face.
What's that?
For us in the electrical challenge people.
and these are more of the more recent.
Just tell us what it's so good.
I remember his face too.
Nice one. Cricket field. Swimming pool.
Yeah, we had a do here one night for some reason.
Yeah, there was. Hang on.
Oh no, I know this wasn't here then.
After we left, so we're just saying we do musicals in the 7 years, so they bring in terrace seating on the 3 sides.
There's the old swimming pool. Unbelievable.
Walk on water now.
It's still there. They use it to irrigate.
Oh, that's right, yes. They've covered it.
Yeah, they just covered
Good
it.
idea.
Yeah.
Cost you again to always in the middle.
Underground here, and then there'll be a glass top, so we'll access it from the same level as the entrance to the sports centre. Look up the yard.
So you'll be using buildings to actually get from down there to up there.
And AIS, Association of Independent Schools, and so we're the cheapest AIS secondary school in New South Wales, so our fees are $9,000, and yeah, so we work
Is
hard
that all the way through?
yes, all the way through, and that's a full. Fathers went around and got the tile shops,
You know, the swimming team had a lot of borders in it because if you're in the swimming team, you didn't have to go to maximum now. We take that.
Is this where your office is?
To buy some uniform things and that's how you go to the old chapel and go underneath there.
That used to be Brother Damien's office. Yes. In the very early days when we first came here, that was Brother Damien's office. This was the chapel. Down here.
oh, this is our little theatre, because this was the chapel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
This was the chapel. This was the chapel.
Who slept up there? The juniors.
Well, they're bedrooms.
No, the one we go to the area. What about this one here?
Dormitory.
Yeah, kick me out of cubicles. The floor when the sun ran down the middle.
It was all beds, wasn't it?
Yeah, just beds.
There's the old glass window, aren't they, Maria? I don't know.
Yes.
So what were those? Were those separate rooms and those?
I can't remember.
Yes, I don't know washroom there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it was in the middle. You know what? I think it was on the fourth floor because there was a door that went off the end of the stairs. I think that was the washroom. The fourth washroom was there on the beds.
No, this is the beds right there.
Well, hey, this one?
This one. The washroom
Where it was.
brothers used to train.
I never went in.
No.
And the chapel's through here.
Brother Michael down the bottom there, Brother Pascal on the right hand side.
Special.
Maybe.
Bit of a
This is a lovely old place. Yes.
The Borders Chapel is too small.
They're fighting to have the, you forget, they're fighting to have the highway.
Very rare it's happening. Some office.
stained glass windows from the Borders Chapel, and then the principals.
Yes. Where's Barney was? Ambrose. Oh, there he is, sir. Who was the brother that did you do French?
Who was your principal?
Wally.
67, 68.
Damien. Brother Damien.
And then brother Walter.
This one.
I am brother.
Mighty Mouse. Skinny tall guy. We all have Mighty Mouse.
Yes,
There's
telling me that big.
I think it was
Yeah, 68 was brother Walter for us.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then he left the brother, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I they're all retired, and I the three previous principals. There was brother Peter, brother Rory, and Chris. Brother Ambrose, he's in Rome. He's now the Burse econom for the Brothers Worldwide.
Wow.
Do we still need a passport and a visa to come down from Queensland? So there's a very big group who can't make it. Donna Wong has a better excuse. He's in PNG. We also have apologies from Doug Rawnsley, Ken Murphy, Gary Edwards, Peter Livingston, Billy McGrath, Fred and Tony Mortell, Father Hugh Brown, and just to mention, Father Hugh is attending his first gay wedding, so he has a different offer. Richard Galacki, unfortunately not well. Chris Kwan, Paul Maher, Tony Caruso, John Dugas, Tim McLaughlin, John Granger and Shane Carroll. Shane let us know today that he is actually having a knee replacement operation at the moment, so that's not so good. Now, I also thought that in the interest of political correctness and equal opportunity, we should ask whether anyone would like to apologise for actually being here tonight. Dobbo noted, thank you. Now, I was also thinking how we would do tonight, because 50th sounds really old, doesn't it? 50th reunion. And I thought that there was a real danger that we might be sitting around tonight getting depressed, talking about things like dementia, receding hairlines, receding gums, various knee replacements and things like that. So I thought we should actually have some fun. And I want the theme for the evening to sort of bind things together as we go along. And I thought about a few possible themes. And I decided in the end on perspective. Because perspective is all about seeing the bigger picture. And we should have it. After all, we've been out on parole for 50 years. What perspectives do we gain? What bigger pictures do we see? So during the evening I'm going to keep coming back to this theme of perspectives. And I wanted to start with a short story first about perspective itself. And it's a story about an only daughter in the US. And a lot of you may not know that in the US college, which we think of as high school, they treat as first year university. And the big gain in the US is get as far away from your parents as you can. That way you don't have mum and dad coming around knocking, make sure you're eating your greens and stuff like that. So everyone goes as far away as they can. Now the story in this one is there was an elderly couple up in Maine, and they had a single daughter who was the apple of their eye. She had it all. She was a brilliant scholar. She was good at sport. She was good looking. A bit like us, when I think of the group around here tonight, except for the good scholars and the good sports and good looking. Other than that, could be almost any of us. Anyway, she was admitted to University of San Diego, which is the diametric opposite side of the country, as far away as she could get. This was the days before email, so there was very limited contact between her and her parents. So they waited. They used to go down to the mailbox each day and they would wait for the mail to come. Nothing. Wait again the next day, nothing. This went on for 12 months. At the end of 12 months came the first letter. So they ripped it open, very excited. They started off, dear mum and dad, it has not been a good year. First, an overly enthusiastic drugs party at the sorority house ended up in a fire and it burnt down. But it was okay because I was able to move in with my boyfriend. Things got a bit tight when the baby came. But it was okay because he has parents up in Alaska who have a little gas station, and we were able to move in with them and pump gas. Tears were rolling down the face by this stage. Turned the page, the next page started, Dear Mum and Dad. It was not a good year. There was no sorority, there was no fire, I don't have a boyfriend, there was no baby, but I did get a D in chemistry, and I wanted to make sure when you found that out you could keep it in perspective. So I'm going to come back to this idea of perspective during the evening, and I do have to warn you though that just in case any of you fall asleep or die and forget to tell someone next year, I have a couple of riddles that I'm going to give you during the night, just to make sure you stay on your toes. They're there for later. What I'd like to do now is hand over to Michael Fairweather for the official welcome. And for those of you who do have dementia, Michael was our vice captain back in 1968, and that means that he was our leader and director of vice. And so Michael, please come and get the welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Welcome everybody. One of the things that occurs to me when you, on the run-up to this, is the unbelievable camaraderie and fellowship that we've had over the last 50 years. So many people have said that it's such a unique experience that we've been able to have over all those years with fairly frictionless, it's been fairly frictionless over all those years, and great comfort for me, I know, during that period. I don't know whether there was something in the water in Castle Hill or what it is, but my sister-in-law thinks it's worth writing a book about. I don't know how I'd do that, but it is really something that we've all achieved together, and it's been really great. So I welcome you all. I'd just like to talk about our unsung heroes in the school back in those days, and it's the lay teachers. We talk about the brothers that we love so dearly, but we very rarely mention the lay teachers. So I asked Brian the other day for some names, and can anyone sort of throw a few names at me? Botrebec.
Can it be Mr.
Trudgett?
Trudgett.
Purcell. Gleeson. Jim Murphy.
Michael Ryan.
Jim Murphy went to Perth. Mr. Mack. No, sorry, Kevin Murphy. Mr. Mack. Kevin.
Yeah, Mr. Mack, old Mr. Mack.
Jim Murphy, yeah, Jim Murphy. Yeah, 67. Yeah. Mr. Mack? Yes.
Who was the guy who taught us Latin?
Anybody? Any others?
One who taught us Latin. Moore or
Ryan
Moore?
Mr. Moore?
Moore, that's him. Yeah, Moore.
Professor Moore?
Parzas.
Do we say Mr. Ryan?
Yeah.
Mr. So Mr. Botrebec was the one that always catches me. The wry wit that he had, the dry wit that he had. And when I first struck him in Latin class in first year, in year 7, and I was a little bit green behind the ears coming down from Maitland. And Peachy McIver, does anyone remember Peachy McIver?
Yeah.
And Stan Witherell, I think, was part of this process. But what we decided to do was to serially ask to go to the toilet one by one, and starting from the front, we slowly work backwards. So first one goes out, and sir, can I go to the toilet? Yep, go. Second one, Yep, go. Third one, yep, go. Fourth one was me. And he goes, no, you don't go. He said, you come out here, I give you straps. I said, what for, sir? What's the straps for? He said, just for fun. So anyway, folks, welcome all, have a good night, and we'll see you at the CCF.
I think the timing is fairly good. I'm going to ask Les Kirkpatrick to say grace for us, if he would.
Thank you.
Sorry, what's that?
On this special occasion. Memories float to mind when I'm attending these functions. And the days of Oakhill when we were there, I'm sorry ladies for leaving you out, it wasn't co-ed in those days. I think it is now.
Would have more fun.
Anyway, thank you for asking me to say grace. Dearest Lord, we thank you for this gathering tonight on this special occasion. We ask you to bless us all as we attend, and may you please give us your grace on this occasion for the meal that we are about to receive through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
We'll also get Gus to say a follow-on.
Thanks, Dave. Bless us, our Lord, for this meal, and our cool friends which are about to receive. And thank you for letting us have the company of Les and Mick Ryan tonight. And also, thank you for letting us share in the lives of our departed friends, Frank Capitano and Jared Adams, Carl Hurler, Charmaine Dobson, Elsa Hurler, Diane McGrath, Michael McKenna, and the De La Salle brothers from Taurus, Damien, Pius, Jerome, Raymond, Neva and Pascal, plus any Oakhill friends we may not be aware of who have passed into your care. We also thank you for our good fortune to be in the Oakhill class of 68 and to have so many of our wonderful friends, wives and partners with us here tonight. Through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Enjoy your entree.
Sorry? I don't know, I don't recognise it.
Living back in Sydney?
No, I live in Foster. Yeah, Foster, New South Wales. I've been all over the place. And, yeah, I've been over in WA, Balgo and Columbaroo missions, and did a lot of travel to Indonesia, like Thailand. No, the missionary part was in Western Australia. The other was just work, going with Thailand and Bangkok. Yeah, been all over the place. So I worked for Transamerica Occidental for a while, and took over the States there, and San Francisco was the head office there. Still notice how flat every time we go over the Harbour Bridge.
People don't believe it, though. Miami
Still got the scar on my thumb from when we threw that slab of concrete into the water. When we stole that, and there it is up there, yeah. Quenda Safari, Quenda Safari, Quenda Nairobi, Mojabuana Mumbwa, Quenda Lima Shamba. Yeah, it's pretty. My brother was. I was going to bring him as my guest, but he's tied up with something else. But he got his 50th next year.
Peter was coming out of the we go back to Oakhill, we go back to Great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, we've all been interesting to see what's happened in everybody's lives. You know, it'll be some interesting stories. Yeah, I recognise him. Yeah, I recognise because he used to come over to my place after he left school even. When we were in Roseville, he came over a couple of times. Because he borrowed a book of mine on judo, and he hasn't given it back to this day, so I haven't forgotten him. There he is, the bloody, he taught us Latin. So, yeah. Peter, that's the one who taught us Latin. What was? Yeah, Mr. Moore, with the strap, yeah. I did Latin, we did Latin through fourth year, yeah. I remember that. Amo Amasamat, Amamas Matasamat. Yeah, I did French. Yeah, did it to high school certificate. You actually got to use it in France when Barb and I were hitchhiking around. So the only time I used it. The thing is, they could all understand you in Paris. You got down to Marseille and the provinces, they didn't have a fucking idea because of the accent was so different. Had to talk really slow.
Certain places change.
Yeah.
Chris Townsend speaking French. Notes the difference.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now Parisians are like Sydney people versus the country. They speak very rapidly.
That's right. So I learned Hebrew online. Did that remind you? I can remember risking our lives going to a pub and guys, complete strangers, beer.
I told them that nobody believes it.
It was one of my party prospector guys.
He smashed it, put it down, they got near it. And he's arguing with the bartender about the beer. Nobody believed that. I said, you remember a guy in a wheelchair trying to ram me and the go at me because they had long hair and it was all aggro at me. And he's bed in another car.
the evening. Well, now that we've finished your entrees, or fairly close to it, and as we build up the evening to a few presentations, I'm going to say right up front, when we have presentations, if you'd like to ask questions, make comments, etc., we will have a couple of roving mics that will go around, and we'll see to that at the time. So I thought for our second perspective tonight, we might have a look at the male ego. And the male ego, of course, is very much tied up with sex. Now, as members of the 50th reunion, of course, we've seen it all. We've gone through the full cycle from strapping young 18-year-olds, popping with male hormones, to nearly 70-year-olds, popping with vitamins, blood pressure pills, liver pills, Viagra, multitude of who knows what else. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell any dirty jokes, mainly because I don't know any. But I thought I would share with you a couple of short stories that put the male ego into perspective. The first one is from the Second World War. Now, it's not a well-known fact that the Americans actually provided a lot of support to the Russians during the Second World War. A lot of it was in the form of wool, in coats, in gloves and things to keep them warm in the cold. At one point, the Russians apparently started to push the envelope, and they asked the Americans, could they have shipments of condoms? And showing the ego of the Russians, they said they have to be at least 12 inches long. The Americans, without missing a beat, duly produced the condoms, packaged them up, and stamped them condoms, 12 inches, size medium. My second short story on the male ego is really for the wives here, because you will all identify with this one, I'm sure. I won't name any names. But the wife is up early in the downstairs cooking breakfast, the whole 9 yards, fried eggs, boiled eggs, bacon, tomato, the whole lot. He walks in and she says, my goodness, you look handsome this morning. You look like I remember your photo from when you went to Oakhill all those years ago. You must make love to me immediately, right here on the kitchen table. He thinks, well, lucky day. He does his thing, she jumps up and goes back to cooking. And he says, hold on. You seduced me, you tell me I look like an 18-year-old Oakhill up, and now you just go straight back to cooking. And he said, I'm sorry, I should have told you, when I got down and started cooking this morning, I realised that our 1 minute egg timer had broken. I want to give you... I've got another one, but I'll call it quits while I'm getting a laugh. Okay, I want to give you the first riddle for the night. Okay, let's make sure you're still awake. So, it's a 7-letter word. It existed before God. It's more evil than the devil. Poor people have it. Rich people need it. If you eat it, you die. Now, if you know the answer because you've heard it before, just pipe down and let other people have their dinners ruined. And we'll come back to that one later on. Someone thinking about that one already. Now, while we're just waiting for the main course, Les Kirkpatrick has agreed to just say a few brief words. Are you happy to do that now, Les? Stay there. I'll bring you the Prepare to stand, please.
First thing I'd like to say is thank you very much for the invitation for me tonight. One of the highlights of Old Boys reunions is just male only. So the wonderful thing tonight is to see so many wives and friends here that are female, and it adds.
Can I get a Diet Coke?
To the occasion.
You'll get a Diet Coke, please.
I've just been watching some of the difference now. If you excuse me, ladies, if I just say to the boys tonight that so many things have changed. The days of I get a thing called Oakhill Drive. Yep. The Oakhill Drive, and there's I look forward to reading that. because there are many times when the boys here and myself used to walk up and down that driveway. Oakhill now has changed so much. The wonderful, I think it's one of the biggest Catholic schools in Sydney with the introduction of co-ed education. I have so many fond memories of the days at Oakhill and what used to be called, what was it, the 40 acres, I think, on the other side of the road. And that was all, I don't know, I went past there some months ago and looked across, and what was a vacant block that no one would have thought would be built. It's full of houses now, as you know. I just want to say thank you very much for the impressive thing tonight, and I've already said that, is to see so many wives and ladies here. It adds to the occasion, because so many, the language is a lot better now tonight. So it has, the days when you were there, it was a very small college, and I remember having to take a sports master, the boys around for a drive when it was a run rather. We'd go out the back gate.
Thank you very much.
Right up there and around. Well, you can't do that anymore because of the traffic. But it was a wonderful experience for me to teach there. And I would have liked to have stayed there a little bit longer, but other things happened I won't bore you with. I finished up going to Bankstown for a couple of years, and then after Bankstown, finished up going to Riverview for 46, 47 years. But, so I've been blessed in many ways in my life, as I'm sure you have as well. And it would be wrong for me to conclude without saying how much this night means to me, depending a little bit on how I was feeling. And there's, once I knew that that I was invited to this function, I was so, how can I put it, joyful, uplifted to know that I was going to be here tonight with you. Oakhill is a very special place for all of us, and I think there was I was in charge of a dormitory there, and I think Brother Jeffrey was in charge of the other dormitory, and it was, we had one shower then, and when I'd take the boys for a run, after a run they were allowed to have showers, no doors on them, and there I was instructed to make sure that they'd only stay there. I think it might have been 2 or 3 minutes. So there I was with a whistle, and the whistle would blow. And when they were enjoying when they heard the whistle, they looked at me with, with not anger, but unhappy that I called them from their shower. So thank you very much, and I do appreciate the honour of being here tonight. And I just want to say how I enjoyed my years at Oakhill, a wonderful school, which is now, I think, probably one of the biggest Catholic schools in Sydney, I believe. It's one of the biggest with COVID now in the last 2 years. So thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for that, Les. Now, go and get a loan from the bank. That's a whole different ballgame. And the good news is, you're no longer responsible for just about anything. So, for example, if you get food poisoning tonight, you've got a pretty good case for suing your banker on the grounds that it was irresponsible for them to lend to you without thinking about the potential for food poisoning. But it gets even better. If likely you had to go and get a mortgage, you mortgage your house to pay for tonight's dinner, there's every chance you won't have to pay it back. Particularly if, like me, you lied on your application. Because if you lie on your application, the responsibility is going to be actually on the banker now to make sure that they took every possible step to make sure that you didn't lie. To which I say, did they apply a lie detector? Did they get a handwriting expert to check your signature? And what about those witnesses? Brian Hartman, Gary Liversidge. No self-respecting persons have a name like that. They have to be phoned. And it's up to the bankers to pick that all up. So the good news is you can enjoy your dinner tonight, even if you did have to raise a loan from your bankers for it. So enjoy. We've been asked for a group shot of all the males, if you don't mind. We didn't have any females in our party, did we? No, okay. Sorry, ladies, you get to sit this one out.
Harry someone. It's Harry, isn't it? What's his name? It's only a short surname. Harry. Hardy or no? What was Harry's surname? Remember little Harry? Chris Harrison. Chris Harrison.
All these little It's easy to cut out the you know the rule. Calling for a waiter? Yes, we had a 50. We played the 6 40 to Jack. It was a 3-all draw. So you remember, very remembering, and he created the war cry. He had their own doom like barrels out of the war cry. He put it together.
Hello, gentlemen. There's a lot of faces here I don't know because I'm a year behind you. I left in '69.
Oh yeah, Mike Siddle.
Oh yeah, I remember you, Mike. Yep. You were in my year, weren't you? You were in year from '69, didn't you?
68.
68, yeah.
You'd be in my brother's class, John Siddle.
John Siddle, yeah. That's right. Yeah. I remember the name square, right?
Yeah.
So what are you doing with yourself these days?
Oh, I'm retired and living up in Foster. Sorry, sir.
Well, I've inherited a little cottage at Blackhead.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Carl or Emil.
Jim said you guys know where this boy is? See where?
Mate, you won't recognise. I've been coming down from the
very casual. All over. Very casual.
Nice.
Squid.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's lived
I'm ringing
No, I agree. It's like the sex abuse scene in the church.
The main presentation of the evening, but I thought before I introduce Greg, I'd like to give you one more perspective. This one is perspective on dealing with technological change. Now, most of you, I'm sure, have had that experience because we grew up at a time when there was no computer, there was no internet, there was no Facebook. I didn't even see a TV till I was a teenager. So technology came late to us and we had to adapt. And most of us have had to adapt or get left behind. And despite the natural brilliance that we all inherited as members of the class of '68, most of us would have felt that frustration at some time of having a new piece of hardware or a new piece of software and you're trying to set it up and you can't, and then the embarrassment of having to hand it over to your 2-year-old grandchild who goes press and it works. So I thought for those of you like me who have struggled, here's a story I came across recently that puts technology into perspective, at least for our generation. There was an elderly couple from Tasmania. Anyone here from Tasmania tonight? Sort of down near Antarctica, very cold, nearly another country. Anyway, one winter it was particularly cold there, and the husband and wife decided they would go to Cairns, go and get. Well, they'd already burned all the newspapers and the carpet to keep warm. Wasn't much left. So they said, let's go north. But because they were booking very late, they had to travel separately. So the husband was going up on the first day and the wife was travelling the next day. So when he got there, he was delighted to find that they had a computer and internet. Cairns is a little bit like that, a bit like Tasmania, but a little bit further along. So he wrote her an email. But like a lot of us, you've all had this experience where with fat fingers, we just get that email address a little bit wrong. So he needed one letter from the email address. It arrived unintentionally at a widow who had just returned from the funeral of her husband. She read the email and fainted. Her son rushed into the room and this is what he saw on the screen. Topic, I have arrived. Dearest, I bet you didn't expect to hear from me. I was surprised to find everything in such good order. They have just installed computers and we're able to send emails to our loved ones. What a treat. It was very easy checking in and I was delighted to find that they have everything prepared for your arrival tomorrow. I hope your journey is as comfortable as mine was. P.S. Bring something cool, it's incredibly hot. It's now my pleasure to introduce Greg Whitney, who is our keynote speaker for this evening. Greg is Executive Director of the Catholic Education Diocese of Parramatta. As a Catholic education leader in the Parramatta and Wollongong Diocese in New South Wales, Greg has led significant cultural change with a focus on innovation, collaboration and investment in teachers' learning. Prior to this, he was a teacher and school leader in government and Catholic schools, and he has also lectured in the Faculty of Business at Western Sydney. Greg has written extensively about education, including a weekly column that is syndicated across 22 newspapers. He has been a regular on media appearances, including on Sunrise, The Project, The Drum, Conversation Hour, Mornings with Wendy Harmer, and Richard Glover's Drive. Greg's advocacy for change and innovation led to an invitation to present at the Congregation of Catholic Education's First World Congress in the Vatican City in 2015. Greg's contribution to education has resulted in a number of awards. He's a member of the Order of Australia. He also holds a papal knighthood in the Order of St Gregory the Great. He has received a presidential citation from the Australian Council of Education Leaders, and in 2017 he was awarded the Sir Harold Wyndham Medal for his contribution to the education of young people in New South Wales. Despite all these achievements, Greg's greatest claim to fame is that he attended Oakhill College, 2 years behind the famous class of 1968. He was that close to being famous. With that introduction, it's my pleasure to hand over to Greg, who's going to share his reflections on the differences in Catholic education between Oakhill in the 1960s and the present. Please make Greg welcome.
I'd like to move that
person someday. Thank you very much for the kind offer to come and speak to you. I must admit, when Gus rang me, I was absolutely stunned, and particularly when he told me who the first choice was. We called off the bench. Of course, Ambrose Payne couldn't make it. It is indeed a great honour, and I'm very mindful of that. Gus gave me a good briefing on what I should say. I'll just talk about Oakhill today. And I do, obviously, as you heard, I do a lot of speaking in some very interesting places, but can I tell you this one? The World Congress was nothing compared to this one. But I'm pleased to be able to stay here and spend a bit of time with you. I'm going to pass a photo around. If you just have a quick look at it and pass it on, because it's I'm going to start in a very different place. And you'll be pleased to know that's my entire speech. All right, so it'll be brief. Catholic education's been my life. As my kids tell me, I spend all my time at school. I'm such a slow learner. But anyway, the reason I do what I do, I think, is summed up in that photo when it comes around. And rather than wait for everybody to see it, it's a photo of myself and a woman named Joan Keogh. Now, anybody here go to St Monica's before I went to Oakhill? Oh, good. I was at a funeral of one of our priests a couple of months ago, and the former parish priest of Christ at North Rocks, long-serving priest in the diocese. And I was talking to Joan, who I happen to know because we crossed paths with her, but she asked if she could have her photo taken with me. And I was quite surprised. And the power of the photo is why she asked me. She was the principal at St Monica's at North Parramatta when I was in kindergarten. And she wanted to have a photo so she could show her fellow sisters, because she was so proud to say that she had been the principal. I can't believe that, because I kicked the living daylights out of her on day one. I wouldn't leave my mother alone for 2 days. I screamed and kicked her. Then Sister Berkman. But here I am in 2018 and being asked by the principal of the school to have the photo taken. And I'll come back to that. The background to Oakhill. The first thing I want to say is we all, nostalgia is a wonderful thing, but let's get real about what life was like at Oakhill. It was tough in those days. It was very tough. We were a tough school. The students were tough and gave as good as they got. I was sent to Oakhill not because my father thought and mother thought it was a good academic base, but I'd gone there so I'd be sorted out by the brothers, as we all would have. You'll get your faith drilled into you. So the learning issue was secondary, and I'll come back to a touchstone when I move on. But it wasn't about the learning. It was about our